Welcome, guys. Nice, intimate group today of people who want to live higher. Love it. So today, we're going to be talking about burn fat all day. So burning fat is a pretty hot topic. It's a hot topic because a lot of people that want to do it. Our culture and our society is not really set up such that you can just blindly go through it and not be overweight, long story short. Does that make sense? For the people that do maintain a really healthy weight, it's something that for the vast majority of everybody, it takes a lot of conscientious effort and a lot of self-control. The other thing is that, as you will see in a moment, there's a little bit of a misconception as to how we need to be trying to burn fat. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But we gotta, it's in the box, or you can just shut that off, I don't know, either way. Sorry, guys. So we got to lay down a little bit of science and talk about some fun words. The first concept we need to really grasp is the concept of metabolism. So what is our metabolism? And long story short, your metabolism is like your body's thermostat, but instead of controlling temperature, it's controlling the rate at which your body burns and uses energy. Does that make sense? So if you've got a fast metabolism, your body will preferentially burn more energy throughout the course of the day. If you've got a slow metabolism, your body will utilize less energy throughout the day. And as we get older, our metabolism tends to slow down. We expend less energy, our body gets more efficient, whatever you want to call it. But our metabolism tends to be a little bit higher when we're younger. The next thing we got to talk about are the three energy systems that we utilize. And we got to talk about this little molecule right here. This little guy is called ATP. And ATP is basically the basic energy unit of our body. And so in order for your body to do anything, it needs to utilize ATP. And what happens is you've got this adenosine here with 3 phosphate groups. Your body will molecularly cleave the last phosphate off, and then that molecular fission releases energy that your body can then use to do work. Has anybody heard of ATP before? Okay, great. Have you heard of sugar? Cool. Have you heard of protein? You heard of fat? Awesome. Your body will take all of that stuff and convert it to ATP. You can think of this as like the monetary system of your body. So in order for my bicep to do this, this is happening right now, and ATPs are getting destroyed so that my muscle can contract. Does that make sense? Okay, so energy system 1, this is where your immediate energy comes from. And you would utilize energy system 1 for 4 to 10 seconds of energy for intense activity. For example, climbing a short flight of stairs. You'll use your readily available ATP. This is like the ATP that's just sitting there right in your cell or just outside of your cell, ready to be used. Energy system 2 is short-term energy for about 90 seconds of intense activity, for example, a 400-meter sprint. And for this, your body is going to take your blood sugar and all of the glycogen that's in your muscle tissues and break it down and convert it to ATP as quickly as it humanly possibly can, and then your body uses it. So glycogen is a bunch of glucose stuck together. Who's heard of glucose? What is glucose? Sugar, right, exactly. So you've got sugar in your blood that your body has left there, and you've got sugar in your muscles. Glycogen is a bunch of chains of sugar that mammals use for energy. Energy system 3, you've got your long-term energy for longer lasting activities like a 30-minute power walk. And for this, your body's going to use glycogen if it's available, and if not, then it's going to use your fat stores. That should have you guys perking up a little bit. Because if you want to burn fat, you got to get into your fat stores, right? So we've got our 3 energy systems right here on this really cool graph for those of you guys that enjoy graphs. Now we also got to talk about the training zones. Okay, we've got 5 of those. Zone 1 is going to be at about 50 to 60% of your max heart rate. Okay, we'll use MHR for that. Very light activity like a stretching warm-up type of a thing. Zone 2 is going to be at 60 to 70% of your max heart rate for light activity, fitness, weight control. fat burn. You should be perking up a little bit. All right, zone 3, 70 to 80% of your max heart rate, and this is where your cardiovascular health comes into play. This is where your aerobics are. So for most of us, when we're doing a CrossFit workout, we try to stay here, or else what happens? We blow up, right? You want to stay in your aerobic respiration zone. So when I say aerobic, that means that the way that your body is creating ATP utilizes oxygen. And this is a little bit of an aside, but you've got two options to make ATP. You've got one way that is aerobic, it uses oxygen, and you get a lot of ATP for every single unit of sugar that you break down. There is also a way that does not use oxygen. It is called anaerobic, right, without oxygen, and you get way fewer ATP for every sugar you break down. It's very inefficient. Now, if you can stay in your aerobic zone for this CrossFit workout we're talking about, you're staying very efficient. But if you exceed your cardiovascular capability, if you exceed your aerobic capacity, your body then switches to anaerobic respiration, which is much more inefficient. And it also produces lactic acid as a byproduct. So that next day soreness and stuff like that, a lot of that's due to lactic acid buildup because of anaerobic respiration. So this is zone 4, 80 to 90% of your max heart rate, which is the hardcore training. And you don't want to go there during a CrossFit workout, but for certain types of athletic activity, you got to train that to get really good at that. For example, the Missouri State wrestlers doing wheelbarrows up the grandstands of the field there. Wrestlers live here, so that's where they got to train. So zone 5, 90 to 100% MHR is like as hard as your heart can beat before it explodes, that's where it's at. So if you got to fight for your life, that's where your heart rate's going to be. So for those of you guys that like charts, there's your chart for the 5 training zones. So now we're going to get into the top secret information regarding exactly how to burn fat all day. And I'm going to say this one statement, and I would recommend you guys write it down. If you exercise in the fat-burning zone for 30 minutes, your body will preferentially burn fat as its primary energy source for 24 hours. So if you work out in your fat burn zone for 30 minutes, your body will preferentially burn fat for energy for 24 hours after that. So for those of you guys that have utilized any piece of machinery that keeps track of calories, right? Have you ever seen one of those little 100-calorie packs? They used to, like, Oreo came out with them. It's basically a tiny, tiny package of like cracker wafer type things, and there's like 4 in there. Very not satisfying if you buy one. But it's 100 calories, okay? What do you guys say we go and do 100 calories on the assault bike? No, absolutely not. So if you're trying to do fat burn, right, just knowing that it's going to take that much work and effort on that type of equipment to burn that little pack of like stale Oreos, right? Do you think that there is any possible conceivable way that you will be able to work out to the point where you're burning fat? If it's calories in versus calories out, no. The answer to that is no, right? Especially if you're looking at like a 2,000 calorie diet. Now, regardless of where your calorie intake is, whether it's 1,200, 3,000, doesn't matter. Whether or not you burn fat or not is a very simple matter of calories in versus calories out for the most part. You're not going to out-train your diet. Does that make sense? Excellent. Okay. Now we've got that out of the way. The trick is we need to go back and we need to, I'm not going to be able to go back because this clicker is like not good anymore. Okay. So the reality is that we're not going to be able to outtrain our diet. The reality is that we need to be burning fat all the time. While you're sleeping, you need to be burning fat. During your waking hours, you need to be burning fat. While you are not in the gym, you need to be burning fat. Does that make sense? And ultimately, what ends up happening is that if your primary form of exercise is cardiovascular in nature or hardcore training in nature, your body doesn't want to burn fat. It's not metabolically inclined to do that. It doesn't make sense for it to do that.
Can I ask a really not trying to be insulting question? Is that why heavy lifters tend to have bellies?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry if I
Absolutely.
offended
No.
anyone.
I mean, that's just the reality of it. I mean, you know, when you're training for strength and not for body competition, usually that comes at a cost of you're going to carry around more body mass, right, in the form of whatever. That's also why, and not trying to offend anybody, it's also why a lot of times if you see somebody who's overweight do the CrossFit thing, they can go 6 days a week. You will see small gains for a while, but then at some point the body mass just stays where it was, and they can be working out 6 days a week. And you think to yourself, how in the name of whoever is this person still overweight? They've been crushing it in the gym for like 3 years straight, 6 days a week. Right? What's going on there? Now, obviously, diet has a big part of this, but the other part of that is that doing that type of workout's not going to tell your body, hey, burn fat. Working out in a fasted state is absolutely going to help. Intermittent fasting helps. Making sure you're eating the right thing for sure. But if you want fat burn to happen, you got to tap in to the fat burn energy zone. And that's going to be with much less intense work than you absolutely ever thought. So ultimately, what you got to do then is figure out where's your fat burn zone. Now, if you recall, your fat burn zone happens between 60 and 70% of your MHR, your max heart rate. So I'm going to give you guys a rough calculation here such that you can find, number one, your max heart rate. Nice to know where your heart can go before it blows up. Number two, finding 60 to 70% of your max heart rate such that you can tailor your training regimen to burn fat. All right, so if you are age 30 and below, you're going to use the top calculation. That's none of us? Great. So if you're age 30 and below, now I believe there's places to get this. I think there's a link you can find on the YouTube channel. I think it's on the website. We'll definitely try to link it on this video after the fact to get this worksheet so you can use it. And if you need a refresher, you can follow along right now. But if you go to the YouTube channel, Live Higher with Accordo Chiropractic, there is a much more detailed walkthrough of how to use this sheet and a close-up as well. And you can see a younger Dr. Marco if you care. Anyway, so for age 31 and up, what you're going to do is you're going to put your age right where that line is, where it says age. You're going to subtract 30 from that to get a number. Wonderful. Take that number you just got and put it down where the arrow shows, and then divide that by 2. Awesome. Take that number down where the arrow shows you to do that. So you got right here, you're going to subtract that from 190 to get your max heart rate. Okay, so anybody want to share some max heart rate numbers with me?
186.5.
186? Cool.
189.
189?
180.
180. Great. So now you've got your max heart rate. Now we got to find the parameters that are going to get you to between 60 and 70% of that number. So the upper end of your fat burn zone, you're going to take your max heart rate, put it right on that line, multiply it by 0.7, and there you go. Then you're going to take your max heart rate on the next line. So you're using this number right here for right there. Multiply it by 0.6. Great. When you've gotten that, follow the arrows. Greg, you want a calculator? No? I mean, we got one. I would not be able to do that math. So anybody find some training zones? Gigi, what do you got?
111 to 130.
111 to 130. And I would guarantee that your heart rate is going to go above that probably during most of our warm-ups. And that's not to say anything against you, but that's to say that to prepare for a workout the right way, you want to get your heart rate roughly where it's going to be during the workout. And oftentimes, the shorter the workout is, the more you got to warm up for it, right? And so it's not uncommon to get above this during the workout. Now, I'm very fortunate. I'm pretty much in my fat burn zone while I'm adjusting, which is very convenient. So what you're going to find is that what you need to do to be in your fat burn zone is usually a lot less physical activity than you've been doing.
So basically, when I was running more and not losing weight, when I started walking, which I thought was weird, that's when I started to see more changes.
Crazy, right?
Yeah. I thought more intense would be.
Right. That's what we think.
Yes.
We think, and I don't know exactly where it comes from, but it's not supported in any of the physiologic literature that you're going to find, that if you want to burn fat at the gym, you got to work really, really hard to burn out more calories. And sure, 30 minutes of running will, during that workout, definitely burn more calories than 30 minutes of walking. But what it does to your metabolism for the 24 hours afterward are two very different things. And the walk is actually going to help your body shift into fat burn mode. Pretty cool, right? Awesome. So we're going to wrap up with some ideas for safe exercise, right? Walking is really probably the best one. It's the most accessible. Hiking, the elliptical, cycling, all that's fine, but you got to make sure you got a heart rate monitor or else you're going to blow through the roof of your fat burn zone. And if you blow through the roof of your fat burn zone, guess what? Your 30-minute timer starts over again. You got to have 30 minutes of continuous exercise in the fat burn zone to unlock this metabolic shift. So cycling works great. Some exercise classes, all right, HIIT, probably not going to do it. Body pump, Zumba, all that stuff, it's great. You need cardio. It's good to train in that hardcore training zone, but if your goal is fat burn, that's not what you need to be doing. And I'm not saying ditch those things, because I would never want to stop doing CrossFit. I love it. I would never want to stop climbing, but I just know that that's not the place I go for fat burn. That's the place I go for hardcore training and for cardio. Make sense? Swimming is a good way to do it, depending on how efficient you are at swimming. Sometimes you got to go pretty slow. Circuit training, obviously, whatever. So, does everybody know how to take a pulse, just out of curiosity? Okay. The easiest way to do this, if you are in a hurry, is you want to measure your heart rate and do so for 15 seconds and multiply that by 4. I really prefer watches with a second hand because rather than trying to do math, I can just quarter the circle. So whatever number I'm on, I just go a quarter of the way around the circle. I'm better spatially than I am with numbers. Because if I start at 26 seconds, that's going to be a little bit of a difficult math equation for me in the heat of the moment. But the most efficient thing to do is to go out and get a heart rate monitor, and one that's going to accurately tell your heart rate in the midst of exercise. For the most part, heart rate monitors are becoming very accessible. They're on Apple Watches, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think the most accurate ones are the ones you wear around your chest, and then you've got the readout up here, but Fitbit or whatever. I'm not technologically up on what's available anymore, to be totally honest. So don't come and ask me about what heart rate monitor you should get. I don't really know, nor do I really care. It doesn't matter. Whatever you get, you just got to make sure that it works and it's accurate in the midst of exercise, and you got to make sure you're constantly on it such that you can get that 30 minutes of uninterrupted fat burn so that you don't blow through the roof or dip too low. Does that make sense? Great. So, does anybody want to share some revelations that you may have come to in the midst of the past minutes here that we've been talking and sharing?
I've shared. Come on, buddy.
Thank you. probably more strength training.
Mm.
Be a good one instead of just CrossFit all the time.
Yeah. Yes. And if you're conscientious of where you're at, how you're pushing yourself, you can absolutely be in the fat burn zone for a solid half hour doing weights and strength training rather than just doing the WOD, every day,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Cool. Greg, anything you'd like to share? If not, totally cool.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, great. Any questions, guys? All right. What I love about these spinal workshops the most is when I get to look at all your faces and realize that you've never heard what I'm talking about before, and this is a brand new concept. I love that. If you get into like nutrition and all that kind of stuff, it's all great. But never having heard the words ATP before, that's a big deal. Glucose, glycogen, like what all that even means. Very, very important stuff. And I love that I know that each one of you has the capability of reaching other individuals. There is so much going on right now. So much going on. And every single human being in this country, maybe even the world, has a million very valid reasons why they could easily lose focus on their health. But last week, it came to me that you really can't let your busyness get in the way of your health. Ultimately, that's what's led so many people into the situations they're in right now. And what I love about being able to hopefully influence each of you guys is that I hope that each of you guys will then go influence your sphere of people. And it's not about doing it our way, but it's about doing it. It's about taking those first steps into being aware that you've got only one place to live, and that's in your body, right? And this might be our only go-around. So let's make it freaking awesome. And for that to work, we've got to maintain our health to a very high degree. We have to conscientiously put time and effort and money into being healthy. Because if we don't, what ends up happening is that we are forced to put time and energy and money into sickness. And if that's what you guys can spread by being around this environment, then I've done everything I need to do. So I really appreciate all you guys. Everybody on Facebook, if you've left comments, we're going to try and get to those right now. Thank you so much for joining in, and live higher.